Find us on Facebook, email us at head2headpinball@gmail.com, or go to our website at head2headpinball.com. Welcome to another episode of the Head2Head Pinball podcast, our fifth episode. How are you, Ryan?
I'm awesome, mate. It's been another huge week in pinball, and I've been busy, you've been busy, but we're heading straight to the news today, aren't we?
We are going straight to the news, and we've got a lot of it. So
that's right.
What are we going to start with?
What are we going to start with? We're going to start with Thunderbirds Are Go. So last week we kind of mentioned that we were privy to some exclusive pictures of the Thunderbirds populated playfield and the playfield art. And some people were a little bit upset, weren't they, Marty?
They were. But probably one thing to note, first of all, is these weren't high-res images. They weren't, marketable versions of these. We sort of, I only saw them for probably, I reckon, 2 minutes tops. That was all I was able to see. So it's not like...
Speak for yourself, Marty. I had them I've got it as my background picture on my phone, so I deleted my kids and I've been staring at it all day.
Yeah, but also the thing to note, and a couple of things. It's not the final art, so we know that, and it's one of those tricky situations where if it was released or if it did get out into the public, then there's speculation and expectations before the final version is there, and there may be minor changes, there may be major changes, we just don't know yet.
Yeah, and I think Mike just wants, he wants people to talk about Thunderbirds Are Go, and people are talking about it, and today, just before we went on air, we got some more news about Thunderbirds, which is great because this is something that he can show and people can talk about it. So he's released a little video of the Thunderbirds playfields being cut out, and people are already trying to speculate what the layout is based on the little holes that are cut out in the playfield, but the whole middle section of the playfield is missing. So it's only a portion of what kind of we saw. And the other bit that he showed was his apron.
Yeah, this is really exciting.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to think you can get excited about an apron because
we can.
Yeah, we can because I mean, what is an apron? How has it changed in the last 20 years? I mean, it's gone from metal to plastic, and that's about it, right?
Well, there's a button on it.
Holes. Yeah. Well, what Mike has done is he's put a playfield leveler inside the apron, and it's not only one axis directional. I don't know how to say it properly. It's a circular bubble level, which means you can level the playfield at 6.5 degrees, but you can also level it left and right. So you can delete that stupid playfield app, the pin leveler off your phone.
I do like that.
You can't delete it because you need it for other pins, don't you?
You do. And also, I like what I like in particular about that app is when you're under the machine moving the legs, it actually calls out to you, so you know how close you are to leveling it.
Oh my god! I remember when I first downloaded it, I had it like locked to Korean, so this chick things being Korean. I now know what like more left, more right is in Korean. So
I bet you do.
You've been playing too much Big Bang, though, haven't you? A little more to the left. Anyway. So Homepin's kicking some goals there. I mean, obviously we have to see the completed product, but he's changing things that no one has been thinking of changing for ages, and that's impressive to me. Including he also added a user mod output. So in this day and age, people love to put extra mods, whether they be lighted mods or just little trinkets on their pinball machine, and you have to usually piggyback power off a light circuit, or depending on how much power it needs. And if you overload a certain circuit or there's an issue with the mod, you can do damage to your pinball machine. It's not common, but you also lower the might lower the amperage going to a certain toy or yeah. So he's created a separate output, so it's on a separate circuit, so you don't mess with the performance of your pinball machine, but you still get to add the mods. So that's another cool thing.
Well, so as I said to you, I met Mike a couple of years ago, and what I sort of understood from Mike is if he's if he's not the kind of person that complains and just complains and does nothing about it. If he complains about something, he will actually put his money where his mouth is and actually do something about it. So if that's the kind of thing that frustrates him, he'll do something about it.
Yeah, I feel like he sat down there when he, instead of saying, hey, let's just get off-the-shelf parts and let's make a Thunderbirds in a year, he sat there and he thought, well, let's think about every component in a pinball machine and let's see how we can improve it. And everything can be improved on.
Yeah, and everything that people have complained about, let's see if we can do something about it. And maybe he's done some of it. Maybe there's more to come with his next machines, whatever they are. But, at least good on him for doing some of the things that we probably never really thought that we needed, but we do. They're good.
You think with that bubble level, as soon as I saw it, I was like, oh my God, like it's one of those things. How come no one has thought of that before?
Yeah, exactly.
Moving along, we got some. Did you see the Total Nuclear Annihilation stream, Marty?
You know what? I did, and I was fortunate because I was travelling to Canberra. We'll talk about that later. And my flight got delayed an hour and a half. And just as they announced my flight had been delayed, that was when the stream started. Now, admittedly,
you watched Jetsons then, didn't you?
I watched Jetsons. Are we going to talk about Jetsons first, or are we going to talk about TNA? But
let's go Jetsons first. That's a quick one, right?
So I got to watch Jetsons.
What do you think of Jetsons?
Okay, so I probably, like many people, when I first saw pictures of the playfield, I just went, "Is that it? Is that honestly it? It looks really bare." I wasn't really that fussed about. I like the art. I really like the art, in fact, but I just thought that the playfield was a bit bare. Having now watched it, I wouldn't say I've done a complete 180, but it looks fun. It's very fast. I like the simple rules, but it's not like everybody was being able to achieve whatever the wizard mode was. It was, in particular, I can't remember what it was. Maybe they were the, I can't remember the name of them. But there was two particular shots that you had to do that were quite challenging. One was in the pops.
Orbity, I think.
Orbity was the right orbit. I think one of them was the pops.
Okay, yeah,
and I think the Elroy one. Elroy was a little bit tough because that was a narrow shot. But certainly very, very fast. What did you think?
I agree with you on the fast thing, but that's what almost confuses me because this is being made by Spooky Pinball, but it's a contract game from the pinball company. And my understanding is that the pinball company is just like a big kind of distributor in the US, and they do a lot of trade-ins and they sell secondhand games. They got a very good kind of positive image. They're not like a Faceless Corporation kind of thing. Like everyone seems to like them. And obviously they kind of saw a market because they sell to so many families that they wanted to. I think they went out and got the license for the pinball machine, and Spooky kind of in collaboration with them are making the pinball machine. So I'm pretty sure they were gearing it. Like they kept on saying it when they announced the pin because there was a bit of a backlash with the photos and the price, and they kept on saying, well, this might not be a pin for you. This is kind of towards people that are new to pinball. A nice simple layout, simple rules. But then when I watched the stream, I was like, man, this is hard. Like,
it's tough.
The ball is so fast. Like, does this actually suit? I don't know. I think people that are new to pinball like an easier game, and not in rule set, more like a bit more slow and floaty. Like we complain about slow and floaty pins because we're a bit better and a bit more experienced. But the slower the ball is, the easier it is to hit. And I don't know. I don't think super fast games goes hand in hand with easy. But as I said, I don't think this game is angled towards me and you.
No, true. Yeah. But I kind of got it after watching it. I'll talk about that when I talk about my trip to Canberra. But a lot of the feedback I was getting from people was particularly older vintage people like myself. That a lot of the feedback was, particularly when we were doing pin golf, is these rules today are too complex. And I think someone quoted to me, I think a guy called Eric said, you need an encyclopedia to be able to understand the rules of the games these days. So this is kind of a bit of a backlash to that, saying, well, let's give you a simple layout. But if you had a simple layout and it was really easy, and it was, let's say it was slower and floaty and it was easier to get the wizard mode, that would be it. Yeah. Then it's over. So there's got to be some sort of balance. But yeah,
I'm not sure how they're going with sales. I'm pretty sure in Australia they haven't sold any yet. Not that we're a massive market, but I do like the topper. The topper's interactive.
Yes.
Orbity moves from left to right every time you hit the spinner. And can I add that, I mean, I know sound is very personal, but that spinner sound, to me, I'm not sure if it's a Jetson sound or if it's just like a sound they popped out of, they used from their library, but I hated that spinner sound so much.
Oh, I loved it.
You loved it?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
But I tell you what, I loved it because of what I probably didn't like about the game. And I did see somebody in the chat, this was the Dead Flip stream on Twitch, there's not enough call-outs. So when you hit let's say you get George Jetson, it says, meet George Jetson.
Oh, that is so catchy.
Oh, it's great, right?
Jane,
his wife. Which is fantastic. But there's no other call-outs in the game except for that. So
maybe they only licensed the theme songs and they could only pick out, because that's from the theme song, right? Yeah.
So maybe that's it. And that's probably for me the only thing that was lacking was call-outs in between, because the layout is simple, the rules are simple. So maybe one way to compensate for that is to have call-outs to make you feel like you're doing something on the way.
Like random call-outs, like part of the show, like a sound clip?
Maybe.
Or do you mean like getting... Are the Jetsons people still around? It's pretty old.
Oh, look, they did enough shows for you to be able to do some other call-outs. But then, of course, there's the...
Did he ever say in the show, shoot the right ramp?
He may have. I'll have to go and rewatch. But look, obviously Jetsons is my era when I grew up as well. So just hearing it, the sounds and the orbit sound as well, I loved it. It was just a real throwback for me. But agree, I think it's possibly too fast, and therefore, we had some good players playing it. They couldn't get too far in the game. Yeah,
and Charlie said that there's going to be at least 100 made, so I'm guessing they're paying upfront for 100, and they got to buy them no matter what, and try and sell them. And if that goes well, there's a maximum of 300 units. So with all the pins coming out and them also producing Total Nuclear Annihilation, I mean, there might actually only be 100 Jetsons out in the wild when all is said and done, which would make it a very rare pinball. Indeed. So we'll see if one gets down to Australia.
Well, I tell you this. I would buy a Jetsons. Now, you can shoot me down as much as you want, but I would buy a Jetsons over America's Most Haunted and Rob Zombie.
But you haven't played it yet. If you want, I can get an iPod for you, right? You can buy a secondhand iPod for $50. I'll put the Jetsons theme song on for you.
Maybe get out of my system.
That's it. It's just the Jetsons. It's just the best thing.
Maybe
ever,
it is.
Right?
But we couldn't play America's Most Haunted before it came out here. We couldn't play Rob Zombie before it came out here. So we're kind of stuck in the fact that because we're so far away, the only time we're ever going to get to play these is if we go overseas or as soon as they land. So we're kind of a bit stuck there.
Is this a plea for someone to buy one? Should we all get together and just group buy one and have it on location and split the earnings between 50 people? That sounds like a good idea.
So what's the pricing on it? Was that released?
This is the weird thing. It's the same price as TNA. So it's $6,000 US. So in Australia, that's going to cost close to $10,000 to get one down here. I don't know. I think you got to really like the Jetsons to grab one.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah. Anyway, so the first half of the stream was Jetsons, and I'm pretty sure they grouped them together. They were originally planning the stream about 2 weeks ago, and they delayed it. And I think they knew that there was a lot of hype around Total Nuclear Annihilation, so they kind of jam them together so that they would get. And there was hundreds of people watching, and I think everyone wanted to see, even though they've already seen Total Nuclear Annihilation, they wanted to see it populated and updated and with art on it. And
yeah, because this
I
was
don't know
the
about
first
you,
time.
but yeah. What did you think of it? Because it freaking blew me away.
Okay. Okay. Absolutely freaking blew me away. And it was just, I don't know. It was the RGB GI is, there's the sound, but the RGB GI was the one that got it for me. I in particular liked, and I can't remember whether they were in multi-ball or whatever, but when the ball hits the slings and they change colour, that's freaking cool. That's cool. And
right.
And the just the light show overall was just spectacular. Coupled that with the awesome music, loved it. It looks amazing.
The only thing I didn't like, and this is literally the only thing I didn't like, was like the artwork and the font on the LCD wasn't really cohesive. Like it would change, like the bonus and the mystery, like they were all different styles. And Scott already said he's going to fix that. But like besides that, I'm in love. Like the sound, whether it be the sound effects. Like I talked about the Jetsons spinner sound being like, it was a grating sound. It was like nails on a chalkboard to me. I don't know why, but the sound of the spinner when like someone hit it twice in a combo, it was beautiful. It's like almost as good as Tron.
Yep.
Chuck that in with the sound, with the music, and the speed, and it just looked fun. I want to play it so bad. And
didn't we have an agreement that only one of us was going to buy this?
Well, I was going to buy Star Wars, and you're going to buy Total Nuclear Annihilation. Now I've dropped out of Star Wars, so what does that mean with TNA? What's the deal?
Does that mean that you get Total Nuclear Annihilation and I get Jetsons? Is that what it is now? Is that what we're saying?
Getting the raw end of the deal.
But the deal is that we swap, isn't it? Every once in a while, so maybe every 3 months.
I don't want the Jetsons though. So.
No, fair enough.
Well, okay, this is the thing. I'm pretty sure, like 99% sure, I'm going to get one. But since I just dropped out of Star Wars, I feel like an idiot if I like pre-order a pin, cancel it, and then I'm like, oh, I'm just gonna go into another pin like 1 week later. I feel like I almost have to not punish myself, but I have to calm myself down because the Australian batch is shipping I think somewhere between the second and the third lot of 50 from Spooky. So they have to make, I think, around 100 before they're shipping the Australian batch.
Right. Okay.
There's no reason why I have to put my money down now. I can put my money down in a month, and I'm still going to get it the exact same time.
So when is that? When is batch 2 and batch 3? When are they going to be delivered?
Well, they said the Australian batch should be shipping end of December. We just say it's still a while away. I still get to see what's happening at Expo, see if anything can sway me there. And the other thing is that my credit card got compromised literally like a day after the stream. I was umming and ahhing saying I should just put the deposit down by credit card, and I had a call from MasterCard saying, hey, have you spent $2,000 in 15 different places today? And I'm like, no, that definitely wasn't me. So
yeah, that's shitty
about it. So
yeah, maybe it's a sign that you should have spent that money beforehand instead of somebody else took it.
Well, they're reversing all the charges, so
yeah, I had that happen. Do you know what? I had that happen a week before I left for Papa. So I had very little money on my card when I was over in Papa. But fortunately, I went with other people that had lots of money, so I was still okay. But it's just a shitty thing. Anyway, buy one is what I'm saying.
Yeah, well, I think I will. And I want to mention one thing, which is part of the mailbag, but I want to bring it forward since it's about Total Nuclear Annihilation. I was discussing this with a friend, and he said that he's looking to buy his first pinball machine, and he said he probably wouldn't buy TNA because the scoring is too low and it would make him feel shit. That's his quote.
Right. Okay.
And I want to discuss it a little bit because I'm not sure what you think about scoring, but when I bought Wizard of Oz, Jersey Jack Pinball Machine, I felt exactly the same way. I would have these awesome games and I would finish up with 1,000,000 points, and I'd be like, man, like put a couple of zeros on the end. Like what's 1,000,000? And after playing heaps and heaps of pins, I've now, come to terms with it, and I don't care how low the scoring is because the scoring is proportional to each game, and it's each game has its own high scores and low scores, and but it got me thinking, like, does low scoring, like, now that Stern has blown up the score so much, does that not put pressure on companies that have low scoring, but does it make noobs, like, if Total Nuclear Annihilation is on site and it's next to Star Wars, ignore the theme for a second. Do you think that someone that's new to pinball will have a better time, like when the match sequence comes up and they've got 100 million, or when they've got 200,000 on TNA?
Yeah, look, it's a good question, and you know what, I think it's like what he's saying. If you're new to pinball, yes, that's probably going to have an impact. For those people that have been playing pinball for a while, we kind of accept it. Like, there are games where you can get, Attack from Mars, when you can get into the billions. That's ridiculous. The problem with Wizard of Oz is not that you can get 1 million. It's the fact that on your first ball, you can have 5,000 points. That's the problem.
Houdini is even smaller. Houdini is literally like, you can have like 10 points on Houdini. Houdini is like the new level of low scoring.
Well, I tell you what, on the weekend, I played NBA Fast Break.
Okay.
Right? Now, if you want to talk about scoring, NBA Fast Break, because it's not about...
Getting baskets, yeah.
It's getting baskets. So, if you got a score of 200, that was good.
That's really good, yeah. I remember reading something that operators complained because it was like so untraditional to have baskets as a score.
Yeah.
So there's actually like there's an option you can change in the menu where you can actually make it display like a score.
Okay.
But then the score doesn't count towards like the high score.
Right,
so
okay.
It's pointless, but it's there. So
yeah. So I guess, I can absolutely understand if you're looking side by side, like for like, scoring can be important to somebody, like especially a new person that doesn't know really the rules of the machine. They don't know necessarily how to get multi-ball. At the end of the game, they're going to look up and say, okay, did I have a good game or not? And the only way I'm going to be able to tell is by looking up the score. And if my score says 10,000, oh, that's not a lot. If my score says 4 billion, wow, I'm ruler of the universe, or whatever that bloody wizard mode is. So I could imagine that, yes, absolutely. As a new player, you could look at that, look up at the score and think that's a measure of whether I had a good game or not. And the bigger the score, the better the game. And you know what? I've said that. I've had people play, let's say my Star Trek, and get, I don't know, let's say 30 million, and they go, oh my God, 30 million? That's a great game. I'm like, yeah, it really is. And then just turn it off before it goes to the Grand Champion score. But I think it does. I think it has an impact on newer players. For us oldies that have been around and have seen all the disparate scoring, it doesn't really matter so much.
It doesn't, but that's the annoying thing, is that the people that are lowering the scoring to it kind of a level of where it was like in the 80s with like the solid states, I mean, they almost get punished for it because we might appreciate it, but people that are new to pinball, I don't know. As I said, it's as long as everyone goes down to a lower level, that it's fine. But with Stern and Dwight having his last 3 pins, Game of Thrones, Ghostbusters, and now Star Wars, it almost, I don't think he wants to go down, because I think when they're on site, people play Ghostbusters and they feel amazing. So,
well,
anyway.
I will say to Nimmer, play a lot more pinball, so like us, it doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah.
So, but also just going back to what we're saying about TNA, Total Nuclear Annihilation. So again, I love it, and I don't mind the scoring. I think that's fine. But again, we don't get to play it before it comes. So what does that mean? Because
I think everyone knows. I mean, I think my new rule is that I need to be happy with the game's software before I buy it. Like, if I bought Star Wars, it would be in the hope that, things would get balanced out and there'd be more modes and more callouts. And I'm happy. I was happy with TNA at the at the Whitewood level, right? Like I would
Yeah,
buy it
of course.
then, and because the game is what it is. I mean, I think people are now suggesting things to Scott to make it more. Is it going to be a Switch Frenzy mode? Is it going to be this mode? And like, no, the game is what it is.
Yep.
And it's funny because Charlie's sales pitch is kind of like, well, like, as I said, it doesn't apply to us because we have to buy it before we play it. But his sales pitch is that like we're going to continue to make him this. This is not like we're going to make 300 and that's it. We'll keep on making it until there's no more orders for it. So if you think you might not like it, don't order. There's no LEs. There's it's almost like the opposite of Stern. It's not like there's no fear of missing out with this pinball. It's if you like it, buy it.
Yeah, but he's saying. And I can't remember where he's quoted, but he's saying, play it first. Well, we don't get to play it first.
Well, we can fly up to the US if you want.
Well, so Charlie, if you are listening, give us both a ticket over to wherever you are, and we will play it, and then one of us will buy one. So you might get some of your money back.
We got to get some perks for having Australia's most frequent pinball podcast, right?
Correct. That's all we can say.
I did email them and ask them if I can fly one down, and I'd be happy to put it on site for a little while as part of the deal. But I haven't heard back from him yet, so we'll see how we go with that. But
So what do you reckon about Scott saying that it's designed to be played with friends?
I need some more friends. I play a lot of pinball on my own, but if I have a very, very small, voice in the back of my head saying, you might get sick of this just playing alone all the time because you're literally just doing the same thing over and over again. Start the reactor, overheat it, blow it up. But yeah, I think I'm willing to take that chance. But I think the game really shines when you're playing with friends because. I don't know. It's a short game. You're not going to be sitting there waiting 45 minutes for your mate to finish his ball. The average ball time for decent players was around 3 minutes. So for the average person, it might be even less.
I reckon it's the music. I reckon the music, and we saw on the stream, as soon as the music came up, people are dancing. And I know they were dancing to be a bit silly on camera. Sure, we all do that. But that music is just so good. It is right up my alley, and I would do the same thing. And I would want other people there just, bop it along to the music, just going, yeah, this is a great experience. So I get that. The problem I've got is that I actually live in in Australia we call it townhouse. I don't know what they call it in the rest of the world, but I actually have my unit or townhouse is adjacent to others, so we actually share walls on either side. I could never have that machine in my house with the sound as it is. And
so we can't even do a swap, mate. What are you talking
about? That's the problem. Maybe we can swap lives and I can actually live in your house.
I don't know what my wife would say about that, Marty.
Well,
oh, she does like you, actually.
She's awesome.
You guys get along more than I get along with her. All right. Moving on to Star Wars, there was a Star Wars update, 0.89, and Dwight is quite quick with his updates. We saw this with Game of Thrones and Ghostbusters. He can bring out 2 or 3 updates in a fortnight, and they're not massive updates and game changers, but he's very quick to kind of fix bugs and sometimes add new ones. But you got to play Star Wars.
I got to play Star Wars for the very first time. Hooray!
We're not 2 idiots talking about a game we haven't played now. We're just one idiot and one person who's actually played it now.
50% idiot level now. So, would you like to know what I think?
Sure.
Okay. So, oh man.
How many games did you play on it?
I probably played about 6 games. 6 games.
Ah, okay. Yeah.
But by the 3rd game,
yes,
I was all right.
Okay.
I was okay.
That is so weird that you say that. Like, I heard someone else say something very similar, and I'm like, does it not have that one more game feel? Like,
no.
And
so, okay, admittedly, I'll tell you the funny thing is, my first game I played on it, I got Grand Champion. And you'll see, we're gonna put it in the show notes that you'll see the picture of me, picture of the machine with the head-to-head as the Grand Champion.
Woohoo!
I have no idea what my score was because as I was putting my score in, Bruce from AMD said, "Look, I'm sorry, I've got to power down the machine." So I never got to see what score I got, but it was clearly a good score. I was too busy focusing on hitting my shots, making sure I was nailing the ramps. It plays really well. I've got to tell you, it plays really well. The shots are fine. They are absolutely fine. One of the big criticisms that I had, people were saying that the Death Star shot was quite difficult. I had no problem with it. Consistently hit that. I did have it consistently go down the middle through that little horseshoe. But the layout is great. It is a real good Steve Ritchie. Let's put it there. It's a Steve Ritchie. Let me
So
tell
you're saying
you,
that a Steve Ritchie game is a Steve Ritchie game? Is that what you're saying?
is that the subtext that you're reading into that? It feels like a Steve Ritchie game. Okay, I've said it.
Okay.
Let me tell you where the problem starts. I was looking at the playfield art thinking, you know what? It actually doesn't look so bad. It actually doesn't look so bad. It's really boring.
The art or the game or
the art?
Okay.
It's just boring. It's just I've got a Star Trek, so we've got Star Treks, so I'm okay with that, having lots of background art that's not too detailed and making sure that the inserts and the light show compensates for that. I kept looking down, going, "Oh, that's it. Okay, it does what it needs to."
What are you saying though? Because Star Trek has less on it than Star Wars.
So maybe it just is my perception that there should be more. Anyway, all I'm saying is
you're playing in daylight, right?
Yep.
You weren't playing.
Yep.
Okay, that might add to it as well.
Maybe, but that wasn't actually my problem. That was
How many problems do you have? No problems.
I've only got one problem.
Okay.
My problem is the modes mean nothing. They are not integrated into the game. It is just
I can say the same thing about Star Trek though.
Yeah, I know. No. And I get that, but we've already done it with Star Trek. Let's not do it again.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like that. So that's my base that I'm coming from.
So if Star Wars came first and Star Trek was second, Star Trek would suck. Okay.
Possibly. I do you know what? I genuinely think that could be the case, just for me. But on saying that, it's a fun game. It really is fun. I just felt this disconnect between the playfield, the art, and the rules. I'm not sure I'm getting the full magical experience.
Okay. It lacks personality, right?
Yeah, it's just that emotional engagement that you get. It's probably not there, but it's not a bad machine. And I think that people who've bought it, and I also think, don't forget, it was the Pro, so there was no hyperspace loop. I think the hyperspace loop will be fun, and we saw when we saw the streaming of the premium, the light show looks better. It does look more of a premium machine than the Pro.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the most disappointing thing was that people were right, and I didn't want people to be right.
Okay.
So,
I'm really looking forward to playing one. I've got a friend who's invited me over for his unboxing in a couple of weeks of his LE, and I think I'll have the opposite reaction to you. Like I don't think I've ever played a new pinball machine in the last couple of years, like straight out of the box and said, "Oh, this sucks." Like I'm a sucker for new. I want to figure it out. I want to figure out the rules. I've been kind of avoiding all the unboxing videos. I want to kind of experience it myself. But one thing I did notice on the release notes of 1.89 is, and this really annoyed. I don't know why this annoyed me so much, but it did. And I sent a message to you and a couple of other people, and just to I have to vent. So I had to vent somewhere. Spike 1, like when they introduced it in WWE, it had a headphone jack or an audio out on the motherboard, which means you can hook up a subwoofer to there without solving wires and using alligator clips and stuff. You could put your headphones plugged in there, so you literally just run a wire from the headbox down through the playfield. Not the cleanest solution, but it was there. And hey, it probably only cost them 10, 20 cents worth of parts to leave that in there. in Spike 2, that has been removed. And people are kind of scratching their heads saying, why has it been removed? I guess it wasn't a clean solution, this, and that. In the release notes, they've snuck in added support for new headphone jack accessory.
I saw
and
that.
I don't know why, but that just got me so angry. It's like, you remove the parts so people can't hack together their own thing. And now I guarantee it's going to be so expensive. It's going to be like a $200 add-on that you plug into the coin door. And as I said, I'm over it now, but I was like red hot angry about that. And I don't even have Star Wars ordered anymore. So,
well, is it going to take much for somebody to do a backyard job of that?
I think Pinnovators already has one, but I'm not sure if it's available for Spike. So, it's not a bad thing. They got to make money, but
yeah.
I just feel like
I get the
it feels worse that it was there already. Do you know what I mean? Like if they add a feature, then fair enough. But if it was there, they take it out and then they charge you more. It just feels, I don't know.
Is it the final nail? Do you think? Like just a series of
people don't care. It's just me. No one else cares about it.
So look, I actually did install a Pinnovators headphone jack in my Star Trek, and I've obviously got one in Hobbit and in Wizard of Oz.
Yeah, it comes for free in those ones.
Never use it.
What? Are you serious?
I'm serious. I never use it, and I should.
Use it.
I just keep forgetting to. But I would understand it would be a problem if that is where you're getting your external sub feed from.
Well, I said there's other ways to do it. It's just cleaner, right? You just plug it in, run the wire.
Yeah, fair enough.
Anyway. In other news,
before you have a conniption.
Yeah, I saw some pictures on the Jersey Jack thread that Jersey Jack are finally putting, well, we'll call them Cliffies, but they're not made by Cliffy. So they're scoop protectors on the SIM card hole on dialed in. And it's great news. I mean, Stern has started to do it with, I think Ghostbusters might have been the first game they did it with. Because as you know, steel ball hitting up against wood, I mean, it's fine to roll over the top, but when it's hitting an edge, it's going to slowly kind of wear it and deteriorate. And if you look at the old Bally Williams games like a Monster Bash, every single Monster Bash has a Cliffy over it because that hole gets worn to shit.
Yeah.
So Jersey Jack's now doing it from the factory, and it's kind of in direct response of the first couple of hundred machines. Not everyone, but some people kind of getting some chipping, not just wear, but little tiny bits of the playfield chipping off the corner. And my question is, this machine was on site for like 6 months or so before production started. And the reason why they stated that it was on site was so they can fix any issues and they can get some real playtesting out of it. But I'm starting to think that it was on site for most of the time because they had to order parts and the machine wasn't ready. Because why wasn't this installed from day one, Marty?
Oh, look, I think that there's usually a difference from a prototype machine to a production machine. The materials are just different. So maybe if it was on site for 6 months, maybe it didn't have the same wear or chipping as the production version, and they probably just didn't think it necessary. I personally believe for the cost of a, inverted commas, you can't see it because I'm talking into a microphone, but inverted commas, a Cliffy, they cost bugger all. Just put them in.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Cliffies are quite expensive. Like,
what's expensive?
Well, okay, not in relation to the pin.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
But if JJP was to contract Cliffy to make them, I mean, at his retail prices, that adds like $100 plus per pinball machine. That's ridiculous for a couple of, in mass production. So I think they just kind of skipped over him and made their own. And I think Pat Lawler kind of designed them. But I believe all pinball machines made after August the 9th, I think, will have them. I haven't verified that with Jack. I literally just saw a Pinside post.
Right.
But I wonder if the ones from Australia are going to have them. I'm pretty sure if you contact them, they'll send them down for you for free, I believe.
Yeah.
But I think the Australian ones are already packed up and sent, so they'll have to be...
Well, speaking of sending things from Jersey Jack Pinball...
Oh, don't fucking talk about it. If you've been,
no, I wasn't going to talk. I wasn't.
No?
We're going to talk about. We're going to talk
later.
about your part.
Yeah.
I was going to talk about. Dare I mention it again? My flaps.
Yes, I was right. Ryan
You were
won,
right.
Marty
You were
0.
right. So I did
You
go
have
and have a
curly
look.
flaps.
I do. So therefore, when you talk about your issue that you've got now, and
Okay.
then I will ride on your coattails. Go with your
Okay.
problem now.
Okay, so if you listen to the previous episodes, I've got a Hobbit on site. It's had issues with the light boards where basically, not like Wizard of Oz level issues with those light boards, literally just like every once in a while, the GI would freeze and all the inserts would freeze on whatever it was on it. That second when it froze, the lights are locked on that. And I emailed Jersey Jack. They sent a replacement board. They sent a board that is in there 3 times. So I didn't know which one I was meant to be replacing, but I put it in all 3. It didn't make a freaking difference. I replaced the USB cable. I replaced everything. And then I kind of messaged him and said, hey, there's a board called the bag board. I can't remember what it is. The bus accelerometer and GI controller, I think it's called, bag. Wouldn't this be the issue? I mean, this is controlling all the lines, so why would it be individual light board, blah, blah, blah. Like, oh, yeah, that's probably it. We'll send you that one down. I'm like, all right, can you hurry up and send it? So I sent it down. This is coming from the US to Australia. It arrives. I'm excited. I'm going to finally fix this little issue. I drive all the way to the city, park my car, get out. I go to open it, and the fucking connectors on the board are different. It's the same board, but they sent me an older version of it, which my pin doesn't have. They sent me version 1.01. I need 1.1, and I was so angry. I wrote an email. You know when you're writing an email and you're angry? It's like, how do you convey that you're angry? It's like lots of exclamation marks. I am annoyed. Like, I tried to be as nice as possible, but I was fucking angry. So
I know.
They apologized. They said, sorry, we should have asked for the version you have, this and that. And apparently they've already sent the part down. So I will update you when that arrives. I'm pretty sure it's going to be the right part, but I still don't know if this part is going to fix the issue. No. And if it doesn't fix the issue, I fucking give up.
So the issue is that just intermittently, all your lights go out.
Yeah, and you reset the machine and it's fine, but I mean, you don't know what to shoot for. And yeah. I'm pretty sure I could take off that board, take it home, and it's probably like a dry solder joint somewhere, because as you know, Hobbit is a violent machine. If you take the glass off a Hobbit, I remember when I was watching your stream and Jack and James, you had the contract, the mission, the mode called the contract, where you've got the solenoids going click, 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 click,
yes.
click. And James is in the background going, make it stop. It was hilarious because I love that mode.
Yeah, same. Because it gets faster and faster.
Yeah, but for someone who's like playing it for the first time, it actually sounds like something's wrong with your machine because it's a new sound in pinball. No other machine has individual controllable, resettable drop targets.
Yeah,
it's a new thing in pinball, I believe.
I remember the first time I streamed my Hobbit, all the feedback I got was, "What is all that clunky noise?" And I'm like, "Yeah, that's the sound of the machine." You get used to it, of course.
You get used to it. But I mean, my point is with the Beast Mechs, the drop targets, there's a lot of vibration in that pinball machine, and I believe it would just be the tiniest little joint, which is just temperamental. But I'd rather just replace the whole board. So, anyways, onto your story.
What's my story?
Your flaps. Is it?
All I'm going to say is that have you ordered your parts? Because if you have, I want to get my replacement ramp flaps so they can all come at the same time. But I think I've missed that boat.
You missed that boat. I already wrote the angry email.
Okay, cool. Well, see, my emails, as you know, have lots of exclamation marks, but for different reasons.
For happy reasons.
For happy reasons.
Yes.
What else is news?
Saw a bit of highway news today. They posted a picture on Facebook. And someone counted them in the comments. I didn't bother counting them, but apparently there's enough parts for 100 machines. Okay. Well, playfield toys, there's you don't see 100 cabinets and 100 of everything else. But apparently they've got parts, and they said there was an issue. They've redesigned the ramp, but the company who they contracted to make it stuffed it up. So next week they're going to get that, and then it goes into kind of full production again. So I don't know. There might be 100 more aliens ready in a couple of weeks to ship out, which is exciting, I guess. If there was an Australian distributor for them.
Yeah, well, yeah.
We're still waiting on the Australian distributor.
I'm not sure anyone will touch them for a while, but we'll see.
Well, no, I've heard rumors that there's talks going on, but we'll see. It's I don't think anyone's going to order direct from them.
Do we know how many aliens have sold overall?
No, they won't release those numbers, but the LEs never sold out, even at any stage. I mean, even before people started canceling. So,
Right.
and there was only, I think, 500 aliens. So
Yeah, okay.
it's hard because I mean, pretty much no one is reporting numbers. We have all these beautiful statistics of the Bally Williams days where you can say, hey, there were 21,000 Adams families and there was
Yeah.
1,300 champ pubs, but how many machines were made? How many Ghostbusters were made? How many Metallicas? You don't know.
How many Rolling Stones were made? 5.
How many people love the machine?
Less than 5.
Less than 5. So
Well, I believe now, after there was some talk on Aussie Arcade and feedback from the last podcast where I absolutely destroyed Rolling Stones, you now want to play a Rolling Stones.
well, when someone says something's really bad, like I was telling a friend during the week how bad Baywatch is, and he's like, "Oh, I really want to watch it now." And I'm like, "No, like I'm telling you, like don't waste 2 hours."
The TV show or the pinball machine?
The pinball
Because the pinball
Sorry.
machine's great.
the movie with The Rock.
Oh, God, yeah.
It's so bad.
Yep.
Everything that's funny is in the trailer. But anyway, that's not pinball stuff. So when you say something is so bad, like I almost want to prove you wrong. Kind of like what you said with Star Wars, like people saying that it's average. You wanted to prove them wrong, but you didn't get that feeling. I want to play Nick on the Stick. I want to see
So-
what the
Let me just summarize, just if we can go back, summarize what I said about Star Wars. Really, it's a good game. It's a fun game. It is a stern, and it's a stern by numbers. There you go.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so not much more on Alien.
Yep.
You've had a little note here about the pinball arcade.
Yeah,
Martin?
so I just wanted to say, because people have written in and they've asked about, whether we play virtual pin or, any digitized pinball. And I guess I just wanted to say that, as a bit of news, that World Cup Soccer is now out on Pinball Arcade.
Go!
Although it's called World Champion Soccer.
What?
They couldn't get the right. This is what I've been reading. They couldn't get the full rights to World Cup Soccer. So that stupid, ridiculous, most awful mascot of ever, the history of ever.
What,
I can't even.
the
That little dog
guy?
thing, right?
He's cute.
Oh, Ryan. All our fan are just shaking their head now.
Okay.
So apparently it looks like him, but it's changed, different colour. Any use of the word World Cup Soccer is changed, I believe.
Are you sure it's the same game and not like the Stern
No.
one?
Oh no, that you mean that old crappy bloody Gottlieb
Striker
one?
Extreme, or I can't remember.
No,
there's a bunch of soccer games.
There was
right?
World Challenge Soccer, which came out from Gottlieb, and it
So,
was
so what is it called? So it's not World Cup Soccer, it's
World Champion Soccer. And it is exactly the same as World Cup Soccer, but they can't call it World Cup Soccer. But it's out. And the funny thing was that when it came out, nobody could buy it because the interface was bugged. Somebody did a workaround, but they've now fixed it, so you can now purchase it, and it plays nothing like the original. But it's still the closest you're going to get.
Oh my gosh, World Champions. Oh, wow. I'm looking at it now.
Everybody,
Logo-
live
they-
updates coming from Ryan. Ryan,
That's
are
just
you
a
there?
horrible logo they did. Jesus Christ. Put some more into it. I thought they went into like clip art. Not clip art. What was that thing that everyone used to use like in Word like in 1997? Like that is the same shitty fonts all the time. I don't know. It looks horrible.
Yeah. So anyway, it's out. So it's good that they are releasing some decent games instead of those shitty Gottlieb machines that they are releasing, which are just god awful in every way.
I was playing some pinball arcade with my daughter, and it's funny because like the table pack number 1 was just full of just like the best games,
Yeah.
and now it's like they're running out of them, so they have to chuck like a whole bunch of junk in there.
I know. And also, can we just put it out there, Stern, or whoever it is, Farsight Studios, can you give us another table on Stern Pinball Arcade? Please. I need something new. Ghostbusters.
How many is it? 2 or 3?
2 or 3 machines.
Well, how many? There's ACDC, there's Star Trek.
And there's Mustang.
Okay,
And that's it.
cool.
So I believe Ghostbusters was meant to be the next one. So bring it on, Stern. I need something more to play on my iPad. So
I've been playing it on Xbox because of the triggers and yeah, it's good. It's good for kids. My kid knows. She recognizes pinballs we don't have and she's, simply through the pinball arcade. And I mean, before I bought my first pinball machine, I was playing Whitewater on a friend's. He made the virtual, the one that's actually in a pinball machine cabinet.
yes,
I can't remember what the software is called.
virtual.
But yeah, I mean, before actually, I refuse to almost play them now because it's not real pinball.
No, of course.
I shake the machine and nothing happens. But before you buy your first pinball, like those things are freaking amazing, like to get you into the groove of things. And
Agreed.
yeah.
So, fun fact, if I haven't mentioned this before, it was actually Pinball Arcade, that coming out, that really stirred the nostalgia for me, that absolutely got me back into pinball. It was because of the Pinball Arcade. Absolutely give them credit for that. So,
And hey, it
thank you.
doesn't cost $10,000 to buy that, right? Like, and you don't need a
No.
big room, and your partner doesn't hit you when you buy them.
No.
So
It
it's good.
did a couple of years later when I bought my first Star Trek limited edition, but I'm not going to blame anyone for that. That's my own doing. So,
Marty, today, in the
Yes.
morning, I messaged you, and I was watching the Buffalo Pinball Summer Open.
I know, and thank you for that. I was, like many millions of people in Australia, working. And I was really annoyed because I wanted to watch it, but I couldn't. I actually had meetings.
I work for myself, so people think I'm actually a bum because I've got so much kind of free time during the day.
Here's another fun fact. I don't know what you do, but let's just work that another time outside of this podcast. I do not know what you do for a living. Let's talk about the Buffalo Pinball Summer Open.
Cool. I mean, I've known people for 2 years that asked me on the weekend, "What do you do, Ryan?" One of them actually messaged me today, said, "What do you do, Ryan?" My son, because I've met his son, he's like, "My son wants to know what you do so he can, like, I want to be that when I grow up," because I'm literally like, he thinks I have the dream job because I'm always kind of available and always playing pinball. Like, he thinks I do that for a living, play pinball. So
my theory is you have many aliases and you are screwing Centrelink and you're getting income from 10.
that's right. That's why I'm Ryan C. and
Yes.
I'm not Ryan, my full name, because people don't know who I really am.
That's exactly right. All
I've
these
got a
aliases.
different name on Facebook. No one knows who I really am.
You are.
Anyway, Buffalo Pinball Open. Hey, all the things that we were complaining about, right? With Papa, not that the Papa footage was horrible or anything, but the shaky camera didn't exist. The cameras were absolutely perfect. I complained that I left the room and I came back and I didn't know who was playing, what ball they were on. They have all of that in the middle. It was perfect. It was the best footage I have ever seen.
Honestly, I did literally see 5 minutes of this footage and I just looked and went, this is really professional.
Yeah. And when they showed a replay, they didn't take over the entire screen, which is what they did in the Papa finals when every time they had a volcano eruption or something. Yeah, and that was kind of annoying if you wanted to kind of get into the groove of things. But they had a little window, and they dedicated that little window to replays. So, yeah, I was impressed. I was impressed with the footage.
And,
do you know who won? I mean, don't rely on me to give you the news because I
do you know what? I didn't know until this afternoon, about I think 10 minutes before we started recording this, when somebody sent us an email about it. So we'll get to the mailbag later, but you're more than welcome to tell the world who won.
Oh my God!
But as long as you can pronounce it.
No way. Can you pronounce it?
No. Would you like me to give it a
in
go?
the finals was Josh Sharp came. Was it Josh or the other Sharp brother? It was Josh.
Yep.
Wait.
No. It was Zach.
Oh my God. I don't think they'll listen, but I'm sorry if they do. So Zach Sharp came fourth. Levy, that Levy guy, Crazy Levy what's his real Levy Naiman? I don't know what his last name is.
Hi Levy, we love you.
He came third, and Robert Gagnow came second, and the winner was a 14-year-old.
I know.
And, his name is Alexander
Kashmajik.
Is that how you say it?
Nope, but that's how I'm saying it today. Kashmajik.
He's Russian, basically.
Kashmajik.
Alexander, he is Russian, and he won. And
he's 14. I love that.
He didn't look 14. I thought, wow, this guy's pretty good. And then, yeah, he's a 14-year-old kicking the ass of 40-year-olds. So, yeah, amazing setup. I mean, they had interviews, camera angles. I mean, I think we discussed it one of the first episode that, you know, if pinball wants to kind of elevate itself to a higher level, there has to be kind of good footage. And this was done by the Buffalo Pinball guys from Bro. Do you even pinball?
Yeah, but their production's always been good.
Wow, amazing! I was impressed.
Yeah. So he is currently ranked 46th in the world.
That was on there as well. That was on the stream. It said the rank, the ball they were up to, how many points they had.
Yeah.
Even as like a non-tournament guy, I was impressed. So well done to them.
Yeah, well done. It looked great, and I'm going to watch the replay of it on YouTube when it's available, if it's already available.
So that's it for the news, I believe. And let's talk about what we did in the last week of pinball, Marty.
Well, let's start with you. What did you do this weekend in particular?
A lot of stuff. Geez, what did I do? Okay, so Fishtails left my house. That's gone now. And
Okay.
I almost feel like I didn't play it enough because I like, when a machine leaves my house, I like to be in the mental state of hating the game so that I
Right.
don't buy it back. But the game was set up so hard and so brutal that I left the lightning flippers on and the game was the outlanes were maxed out. I should have made it easier just so I can get sick of the game because that game, I don't love it, I don't hate it, but I feel like I could buy that again. After that left, Simpsons also left as well. The Simpsons Family Guy swap is now complete. So
Yes.
the guy I swap with has my Simpsons and he bought over Family Guy. And I've probably only played about, I don't know, 50 games or so, which is more than your Star Wars experience. I'm still unsure if I like the game or not. It's a Pat Lawler game.
Yeah.
Pat, yeah, I know you don't like Pat Lawler, but there's something about the flow in his pin. It's like it's like a bit of tweak on Steve Ritchie flow. I'm not saying this game is better than a lot of Steve Ritchie games, but there's a certain level of satisfaction you get, like left ramp, right, the Chris shot, right orbit, the lowest shot, and then you hit that inner loop, the evil monkey shot, and it just feels good. Like that three-way combo feels amazing, and not because of the sound that plays. Like I know Tron, when you get a combo, for me it's all about the sound. The sound sucks in this pinball machine. It's literally just about the shot satisfaction, like the actual ball rolling and hitting and the timing. And there's something about Pat Lawler pinball machines, and even when I played Dialed In, I can hit his third flipper shots on Twilight Zone, on Adams, on other machines. I think I don't know, maybe it's the fact that on other pinball machines, there might be like two, like on Tron, there's two shots available. There's the gem shot and the right ramp.
Yeah.
And I always hit right in the middle of those two shots, right? In Simpsons as well, you've got the treehouse shot and the Apu shot, and I always hit in the middle. It's like my brain can't decide which shot to go for. Whereas with Pat Lawler, I can hit that evil monkey shot like 80% of the time. It's it's ridiculous. And when I go for the scoop, I can hit the scoop. I don't know. I like the layout. Well, besides Stewie Pinball, that kind of sucks. But
I like Stewie Pinball.
It's not bad. I've got to tweak it a bit. I've done a lot of little things. The guy gave me permission. Most of the time when I do swaps, it's like, don't take the glass off.
Right.
It's my pinball machine. Let me know if something goes wrong. But this guy gave me free reign. He said LED the machine for me because it was half LEDs, half incandescents, which is worse than it being all incandescent.
Sure.
So I've put a nice LED job on it, and the spinner wasn't working properly. I tweaked that, and a bunch of other little things. But if you hit the lowest shot on the little mini pinball, if you hit it perfectly, it jumps over the flippers
Yes.
and drains.
Yep.
And I played another Family Guy on the weekend, believe it or not, and it did exactly the same
Yep,
things.
it does. That's just part of it.
I'm not sure if there's a way to slow it down, but you kind of
No, you just accept it.
penalized for, I guess.
Just accept it. Did you get Stewie multi-ball? Stewie Pinball
did.
multi-ball. Yeah.
Is that the wizard mode?
No,
No.
not even close. But that's fun because you are actually playing the upper playfield, the little mini play pinball, and you're playing the main game.
You have to hit. Yeah, you have to hit
Yeah.
once, I believe, and that's how you collect Stewie, which I didn't get to do, but I
That's fun.
The rule cards is in Italian, so I don't know what I'm doing. It's fun. I haven't watched any tutorials. I'm
If
trying to
only
figure
it was
out
in Korean. You'd understand that. Just
Well,
for listeners
only
just
the
tuning in now, that was a
left
joke
and
from
right.
earlier.
But that moves on to my next. The next thing I did is the reason why I played Family Guy on the weekend, like another version of Family Guy, is Ryan got to go on the motherfucking pinball party bus.
You did. We talked about the pinball party bus last week, and you went, "Really?" And I went, "Yes, this is good news." And you actually went on the pinball party bus. Tell me about your experience.
This is the story. So my wife said, "Hey, what are we doing on the weekends?" And she always asks me, "What are we going to do on the weekend?" And I say, "I'll leave that up to you," because she's a female. She's really good at planning. I suck at planning.
And really, you want her to say nothing so you can play pinball all day.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So this is the conversation. Hey, Ryan, do you want to go to a donut festival? And I'm like,
Yes.
well, I don't know. I'll eat a donut if it's in front of me, but to like get in my car and go to a donut festival, like it's like, hey, do you want to put on weight? Do you want to be unhealthy? And I'm like, no, not really. And she's like, oh, it's like a food truck festival, but it concentrates on donuts, and it's $15 entry each. And I said, $15 entry each? Like, I've never been to a food truck festival where you have to pay. You have to pay to go in to spend money buying food. Like,
Yeah.
so I'm like, no, not really. And then she said, the third thing she said was, the pinball party bus is there. I was like, whoa, let's go. Podcast material. I swear to God, that was the conversation. And the funny thing was, she doesn't listen to the podcast. She doesn't give a shit about the podcast, right? So she didn't know we were talking about it literally,
Oh,
you know.
really?
Yeah. So I said, yeah, let's go. And I got to meet Mike, Dion, and I'm sorry I forgot his wife's name. And I got it. I mean, I was a bit snarky last episode where I said, you know, this is big news. I was making a joke out of it, but now I realize these guys are pinball. They are pinball ambassadors. They are literally spreading the word of pinball, and they are doing stuff that you know. I know you run competitions, and maybe this is a reflection on myself, but they were there in front of their pinball party bus. People were sitting there eating donuts and walking through. They were through a walkway. There was one big eating section. And then there was another one further back in that area, and they were in the middle. So people were walking to and fro, passing their pinball party bus. And he was sitting there with a big sign saying "Free Pinball," and he was yelling at the top of his voice,
Really?
"Come on, come in and play pinball!" Like he wasn't just sitting there, like, yeah. So I was so impressed, and I sat there and I chatted to him, and it was funny because I recognized his son, and I asked him, "Where have I seen you before?" And they said maybe at the Pinball Expo 3 years ago. And I realized that you know, the only Australian big pinball expo that ever happened, I was sitting there at 3 o'clock in the morning playing Wizard of Oz. And this is right before I bought Wizard of Oz, my second pinball machine. Right. And I was playing with this guy. Like, he didn't want to. I was kind of like go to sleep so I can just have the machine to myself. And I'm sure he was saying the same thing. So it was just me and him having one game each, from like 1 o'clock to 4 o'clock in the morning for like 3 hours straight on Wizard of Oz.
This is Pinball Expo in Chicago.
No. Sorry, this was the one in Sydney a couple of years ago that
right, yes.
organised.
I don't remember seeing them there.
Yes. Oh, I mean, there was hundreds of people there.
Yeah.
So, and they were also at the Chicago Pinball Festival, and the wife actually told me that she saw a group of Australians, but we were kind of in our own group and swearing and doing our own thing.
Because that's what we do. You can spot Australians. We have tinnies of beer in one hand and fuck-offs in the other hand.
They said she saw us in the bus on the way back from the Stern party, and I'm not sure if you remember. There's a big hoo-ha about the Stern party, because it was meant to be a party celebrating pinball and for the fans, but it was a party for them, and we paid for it because the tickets were like $50 each, and so we were on the bus just bitching and swearing about it, and that's why she didn't approach us. So anyway, back to the bus. The bus is amazing. It's there was 5 pinball machines there. We mentioned in the last episode. There's 2 Simpsons, a Family Guy, Addams Family, and Jurassic Park. And they're not on legs. They're on these kind of. I sent you a picture, and I'll post it in the on our blog post on head2headpinball.com after the episode airs. But they're on these kind of custom leg things, and they're strapped down, because I'm sure if they were just on legs and not strapped down, you turn a corner and the machines would just would just fall over. So the place was packed. They weren't letting on a million people at once. But the cool thing about it is that everything was leveled. He's leveled out all the pins, and the bus even has a jack. So if the bus is on a slight slope, you can kind of like jack it up to make sure the pins are level. But people walk on the bus, so it's almost like you have your own. It's like you're playing pinball on a ship. It's amazing. There's no tilt bobs. I would love to play a competition on these pinball machines, like have a comp night, and just have people fucking with you, right? Like, I know there's someone in the US who does something similar where he messes with his machines, you have to play with like blurry glasses and
I think it's the Pinball Olympics.
Yeah, Pinball Olympics.
Yeah.
This would just be like a simplified version of that, where you could literally just like be rocking the bus side to side when you want someone to drain your ball.
Well, so the question from last week, you asked and we didn't know the answer, was, do you play this as the bus is moving?
No, definitely not. That was a stupid question. But it was so cool. Like, I was talking to the guys for a while, and they are pinball people. This is not someone that said, "Hey, how am I going to make some money?" Oh, I heard people are into pinball. They're pinball people. This is their collection. They bought a bus. They hacked the bus together. I mean, like they got little holes cut out in the roof of the. I didn't take pictures of it, but they got holes cut out in the top of the roof to make sure the pinballs fit.
Oh, wow.
And it's cool, man. I love it. I love the idea. I love them. They have enthusiasm for pinball, and as I said, they're driving to people's houses, and they're introducing pinball to the world. And business is good. Business is good for them, and I wish them the very best. And they're up for an interview. I think we'll wait till they get a couple more, because they just started. Wait till they get a couple more customers, and I think they'll have some interesting stories to tell in a couple of months from now.
And if I remember
they're going to listen to the podcast now. They're going to listen. So
oh, good. And I think it was
the Pinball Party Bus.
Hello, guys. Thanks for listening. And I think it was it is pinballpartybus.com. So go and check them out. I'm now absolutely keen. And I think that Jordan Treadaway, that we've spoken to, and a good friend of ours, Stacey, Dr. Curlytech, I think they've actually been on this bus as well. So
really, okay.
I think we need to organise an event. I reckon this will be so much fun. That could be our first official head-to-head pinball podcast sanctioned event on the Pinball Party Bus.
Wow,
as long as they bring
head on the bus.
Yep, there you go. That will be the first time.
And the last thing I did on the weekend. Sorry, one thing I forgot to say about Family Guy. I've just written a note here. The Family Guy that I got, this has passed through 2 Aussie Arcade members. It was on old firmware. Like these people. Boo! How can you do that? How can you have a machine? It was on 3.0 firmware, up to 12.0 firmware.
What?
So you can't judge a pinball machine. It's the first thing I did. I was like, I played a couple of games. I checked the firmware. Oh, it's old. I updated it. It's a totally different pinball machine.
Yeah. Okay.
Call outs, new software. Anyway. The other thing I did on the weekend was I went to a little pinball meet. It was a last minute.
What are these pinball meets you speak of?
Yeah, it's like a tournament, but really cool. I posted up a picture, just a little tongue-in-cheek comment. I'm not sure if you saw it on the Head2Head. Yeah, it was awesome, man. It was like, it hasn't been a pinball meet through Aussie Arcade in a while, and it was a friend's birthday. And at the last minute, as he always does, he's very unorganized. He said, let's invite more pinball people. Like, I've got all these pinballs sitting here, and it was about 20, 25 people, and It was a fucking blast. I mean, I love just casual pinball meets, playing pins. If you want to go head to head and battle someone out, you can. It doesn't cost anything. He's cooking cheese crankskis. There's a fire outside. We sat there talking shit about Canada.
You were talking about how much we love Canada.
We do, but everyone was giving me shit because I'm the one who invited him on the Aussie Arcade forums, and everyone was just giving me shit. It wasn't anything serious, but sitting there talking at 3 a.m.
Do you know the best thing about Canada? Let me tell you this.
Yes.
The best thing about Canada is he forces people to have an opinion.
By giving controversial opinions?
Well, I think so, but he stokes the fire, so people have to retaliate, and therefore they have to state their position, good or negative. And I think that's interesting.
It's true. I like that as well. The number one thing I hate is when someone tells me they don't like a pinball, and I say why, and they say I just don't like it,
Yeah.
and I'm like, you have to tell me why. You have to tell
Well,
me why.
you know, you can imagine the reaction that I get constantly when they say, "Oh, what are one of your favorite machines?" Avatar. So I have to face people saying it is a shit machine, and then I have to defend it all the time. So I'm in that position often. But as I say, if you like Iron Man, you'll like Avatar. Get over it. Move on.
All right. That's all for me. That was my week in pinball. But I mean, in other news, my kid still likes pinball. But we'll get to, there's a question about that in the mailbag, so we'll get to that a bit later.
Okay, cool.
What did you get up to, Marty?
So I was lucky enough that I had a meeting in Australia's capital, being Canberra, and as a result, I got to stay the weekend, and I went to the ACT Pinball Championship. And yeah, it was really, really good.
Now, before you start, Marty,
Yes.
did you go because you wanted to go for yourself, or did you go for the podcast material? It's a question I have to ask you all the time now.
Yeah, it's true. Okay, let's just say a little from column A and a little from column B, but mostly because it's good podcast material. We talked, well, we did talk about this, the event coming up a couple of times, and so, you know, why not go and have a look? And I've got to tell you, what was really interesting was when I got there. And admittedly, it was a bit of a dead giveaway when I was wearing a Head2Head Pinball T-shirt for the first time. So many people came up to me and said, "Oh, which one are you?" And I went, "I'm Martin." And they went, "Oh, yeah, we listen all the time." It was actually really good that people were listening to the podcast. So thank you, everybody in Canberra that was listening. But I tell you what was really bizarre was that I was, saying something and people were finishing my sentences because they had already heard my opinion. It was really quite...
okay,
It was really strange. Like, I thought I was telling something... I was telling the story on Saturday night about, the Santa Monica Pier and that Elvis. And I said, this Elvis machine. And they said, yeah, the flipper was gone and there was a ball in there. I went, okay, well, that's my story.
You're saving your breath. You don't need to repeat yourself a million times. So,
I know, but one of the number one things in life I like to do is talk. So you're depriving me of that.
Should we stop the podcast then? Have we done that at 5? Shortest podcast ever.
But I tell you what was also really fun was one of the first people that came up to me and said, "Oh, you're from Head2Head," was, believe it or not, Pintech Steve from Pinheads.
Pinheads with a Z.
With a Z or a Z, what country you're from. And we were talking about before that, we started this podcast because we felt there was a gap because Pinheads hadn't done an episode for a while, and then they brought back an episode, and we were thinking, are they okay with us doing an episode? And the good news is that Pintech Steve was really pleased and had a really good chat. And the good news about Steve is he is a really, really nice guy. He's just a good bloke, and we talked all the way through, and he had like a little retro gaming cave of his own there with man cave with lots of old EMs, and they were great. And there was just machines that I hadn't seen for many, many years. And big shout out to Steve because he it was funny because every time a machine had a problem, it was like, "Steve, Pintech Steve, where are you?" And he would run over and he would have the machine up and running. And I did get blamed a couple of times for breaking some machines. Okay. And I'll talk about one of those in a sec. But the format was...
Before we move on, sorry.
Go.
The Pinheads guys, they're so positive about pinball. Like, when I listened to them, I felt so shit about like how negative we've been the first couple of episodes about certain things.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not our fault. Star Wars came out and it did, it's controversy and things to talk about, very polarizing pin. But are they that positive about pinball in real life as they are on the podcast?
Yep.
Yes? Okay.
Absolutely. They love... Well, I mean, obviously, I only know from Steve. Absolutely. Loves pinball. But not just that. He loves the pinball community and was talking to everybody. And, you talked about ambassadors before with the Pinball Party Bus. He's another great ambassador. He was just so friendly and talked to everybody and was, bringing people over. Look, he's a real asset, and particularly to... the ACT pinball community there. He is part of the Vice City Players, which is the big comp that runs in the ACT. But yeah, no, that's all natural. That's what he's like, and it's really good. And particularly when we get bogged down in forums and the positives and negatives, it is actually good to have somebody that just sees that it's pinball. Just have fun and enjoy it, right?
Yeah, pinball ambassadors are important. And before you move on again, I just wanted to interrupt one more time.
Go.
I forgot to mention it before. There is a new website called This Week in Pinball. And if you just Google that, you'll find the website straight away. And this guy is saving me and saving everyone so much time, because there's a lot of stuff that happens in pinball. You can get the information from our podcast. If you want it in written form, this guy, he not only reports everything that has happened during the week, he watched the Jetsons stream for me. You watched the Jetsons stream. I only watched 2 or 3 minutes of it, and then I went on his website, and he had bookmarked the timestamp of when everything interesting happened. So click here and you can see when Jack hit got Orbity to go all the way to the right side. Click here to see him hit the ramp 5 times in a row. So the guy's name is Jeff. It's a new website. He's putting so much effort into it. So +1 for another pinball ambassador. And back to you, Marty.
Absolutely. Yeah. So hi Jeff. Thanks for listening. Look, it was a great. There was a couple of comps that were running. So, it was hosted by Vice City Players and Pete Menzel, who's been on the Pinheads podcast. He was tournament director. Great selection of machines. The first day was qualifying for the finals on the Sunday. So this was Saturday, and you had to get the top 2 scores on 8 machines, and they were Creature from the Black Lagoon, Getaway, Fireball, Classic, I believe, was there. There was a couple of swap outs here and there. Tron Limited Edition, which was fantastic. AC/DC, the Lucy Edition, which was great. Star Trek Pro, and I've got to say, being a Star Trek Limited Edition owner, this Star Trek Pro was the nicest ever Star Trek Pro I have ever seen. And it was, I found out later, a guy called Shannon. Hi, Shannon. I know he listens. It was his machine there, and it was spectacular. I thought it was new in box. It was that nice. That warp ramp was like butter. It was just beautiful. I think my best was about 6 or maybe even 7 warp ramps in a row. It was fantastic. It was so good. And they had a Ghostbusters and Bram Stoker's Dracula. So the top 2 scores. I paid $20, which got me, I think, 12 games. And my first game on Star Trek, of course I'm going to go to Star Trek. I got 200 mil. I think the score, the score to beat before then was 90 mil.
Okay.
And that score lasted, which was fortunate. But at the same time, there was also a pin golf tournament, which I know you went to one recently.
Yes.
And it was really interesting because I love pin golf because I like the objectives that people come up with. And I'll go through them. So, Roadshow was you had to get a ball in either mouth.
Yummy.
Yeah. So it's Red and Ted's Roadshow, and you can either get it in Ted's mouth by locking 3 balls and then, locking 2 balls, and then the barrier opens up and you get in the mouth. And that was fine. People could get that one. There was an EM, I can't remember the name of it. You had to get maximum bonus and a special. That was ridiculously tough. Hobbit, they had a limited edition Hobbit.
So were the specials usually like in the outlane?
Yep, I think it was. Yep, it was really, really difficult. I'll get to the difficulty level in a sec. Hobbit limited edition, which was great. You had to start Smaug multi-ball, so that was achievable. World Cup Soccer, you had to travel to 5 cities. Mm-hmm. Simpsons, you had to lock 3 balls to start multi-ball, couch multi-ball. NBA Fast Break was score 100 baskets or more.
That's a lot.
Yeah, okay. It is.
Is it?
It is, except that on NBA Fast Break, it's got one of these interactive back boxes where at a certain thing you flip the flippers and the ball comes over. But whenever the ball in the back box isn't working, it then just comes back to you get the left scoop and you just flip the buttons as fast as you can. And you can usually get about 20 to 30 baskets, so bit of a gimme. And then, so I'll say Roadshow was, fairly challenging, but you could get it. Star Trek, Next Generation, you had to get to the wizard mode. So that's
time out every mode.
Time out every mode and get to the
boring.
end. And this Star Trek Next Gen was brutal. It was a hard play. It was very difficult to get it into the start mission mode.
You couldn't backhand the mode hole?
Nope, no backhand. Hashtag the mode hole. The EM was ridiculously difficult. Hobbit was achievable. Start Smaug multi-ball, get the lock 3 times. That was fine. World Cup Soccer, that was fine. Get the 2 ramps and then left orbit. Simpsons, lock 3 balls to start multi-ball was challenged because...
You've had recent practice though, Marty.
Well, I have on your machine. But I've got to say, this Simpsons was practically flat. It played like an EM. The front legs were jacked right up. I'll come back to that in a sec. NBA was achievable, 100 points, that's actually easy. But I got to tell you, one of the most difficult challenges was Tommy. Tommy, the objective was to get to the wizard mode. Have you ever played Tommy?
I have never played Tommy.
So Tommy wizard mode is ridiculously hard. I think there's about 10 modes that you've got to get to, and the only way you can... The mode is lit when you first start the ball. That's fine, get it into the right scoop. But then to light the scoop again, you've got to go into the in lanes, and then it lights for about 2-3 seconds, and then you've got to get into the mode hole, which was ridiculously hard. So it was interesting because there was, I think, some well-balanced objectives. Hobbit was well-balanced. I think World Cup Soccer was well-balanced. Simpsons was interesting because people were getting 3 balls into the couch and saying, yep, I got 3 balls locked. Well, no, the objective was lock 3 balls and start multi-ball. So
why wasn't it starting?
Because they hadn't hit the lock targets to actually light lock.
Ah, okay. Because it wasn't... Obviously, they weren't using default settings.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. And I didn't want to be that guy that was like, well, hang on, technically you have to do this. I just went, you know what, I'll give you par, be done with it. But the interesting thing about pin golf is... those objectives are really important to get right, because if they're too hard, it just doesn't become fun. But
Well, I saw your score, Marty. So what are you bitching about?
Okay, admittedly, I qualified first. Okay, so that's fine.
The guy who complains about how hard it is just destroys everyone else and comes first.
I admittedly I did qualify first, but it was because I got things like Hobbit Smaug multi-ball on first ball. I was always going to get that. World Cup Soccer, travel to 5 cities. I got that first ball. I was really pleased with that. Simpsons, I think I got that on the second ball. NBA I got on the first ball. Nobody got Tommy at all. Nobody got Star Trek.
How many balls did you have for Tommy? Or
3. 3.
Okay.
Yep. Nobody got it. Nobody got Star Trek. I don't think anybody got the EM. I wish I could remember the name of it. Something Princess or something. Those old EMs. And I think Roadshow I might have got on the first or second ball. So I actually did really quite well. It was then a 2-strike elimination final, and I actually did get to the grand final. It was me and Paul Jones. We've spoken about Paul Jones. We
have to mention him every episode.
We do.
It's a thing now.
It's a quota now. Paul Jones,
yes.
good fit bloke, or a fit good bloke, whichever way you want to look at it. But I tell you what was funny. So he got to choose the last machine that we played on, and
you're versing the number one. Just in case people didn't listen to the other episodes, you're versing the number one player in Australia right now.
That's exactly what was happening.
Yeah.
So, but I tell you what was happening was that they were shutting down machines because the show finished at 4:00 in the afternoon, and some of these games were going quite long. So they started shutting down machines that were long players, and which was really annoying to me because, one, they shut down Hobbit, which obviously I'd done really well on. Then they shut down NBA Fast Break, which I'd also done really well on. So when it came to the end, PJ, Paul Jones, chose Simpsons Pinball Party, which was very ironic, and I did message you at the time saying, can you believe I'm in the finals and I'm on the Simpsons? And don't forget, this machine was jacked up. It was practically flat. So,
I think he's in on the podcast thing as well. I mean, that's good podcast content. He sold me that machine. He
I
sold me
know.
a Simpsons.
I know.
We streamed it together, and
Absolutely.
now he's versing you on it.
Absolutely.
Thanks, PJ.
Thanks, PJ, mate. But so I think we started, and it was best of 3 games, and I think we started this game at, let's say, 4:45. It was still going at 10-6. And at
This is pin golf, right?
This is pin golf, but this was but it was pin golf. All those objectives to get into the finals,
and then it's just a normal game.
and then it was 2 strikes elimination. Right?
Okay.
So
That's not really fair, isn't it? I thought.
No,
it would be...
Papa rules. You have to.
Okay.
Papa. Now you can't have pin golf. You've actually got to have.
So pin golf is just for qualifying then.
Pin golf was for qualifying, and then the finals.
Okay.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Papa or IFPA rules. Sorry, I should say.
Okay. Yeah.
So I was then head to head against him.
And obviously you don't know how to play Simpsons properly because you didn't understand the game.
Well, I did now. Okay. No. And we were 1 game each.
Yeah.
And he was playing his second ball. I had already played my second ball. And he was ahead by, I think he was on 30 million. I was on 15 mil. But I had couch multi-ball lit, ready to go. So this was now 5-6. So 5 minutes to 6. So we've been playing this game for over an hour, these 3 games. Okay. And they came over and said, look, the security or whatever it is have come and said they're shutting us down.
Oh, shit.
You've got to finish your game. And I'm like, they said, right, so you've got options. First option is declare the winner now. And I said, no, I've got couch multi-ball lit. I am not going to declare. The other option was to come back in the morning and play the third ball. And we both sort of looked at each other and went...
Oh, what, and leave the machine on overnight?
Yeah, no, probably just restart just 1 ball each at the start. Just keep the scores. And we both looked at each other and just went, we don't want to do that in the morning. And then the third option was flip a coin. And,
shit.
And so we agreed that we would share the money and flip a coin. So we flipped a coin, and it was heads or tails, and I said, go heads because head to head. And... it was tails.
Oh no!
I know.
Head to head has failed you.
I know, it really has. We should never have done this podcast.
Should be called Tails to Tails podcast.
I know. So, but you know what? Understood. Like the actual expo. So it was the Big Boys Toys Expo in Canberra. It had actually shut its gates at 4:00, and we were still playing till 6. So totally understood. And you know what? He was probably
on Simpsons, man, the longest playing game ever.
It was a really long player anyway, but when it's practically flat, as I said, it played like an AM. But you know what? At the end of the day, he was going to beat me. But
really? You had couch multiple already?
I had, but he
Super jackpots?
I know. And that's what I did say in my defense. I said, guys, just a few super jackpots and I've got him. But anyway, he won. So the next day we then had the main comp, and that was... head-to-head elimination, but it was the best of... Oh, actually, no, first of all, it started with a seeding round where we played 8 machines, and then that was your ranking. And I ranked first. I qualified first again, mainly because I got a 900 million score on Ghostbusters, which was just phenomenal. I think the next best was maybe 150 mil. And then it was head-to-head again, elimination, but best of 5 games. My first round... I thought, you know what, Star Trek, I'm absolutely going to nail it. And I didn't. So I lost my first game, won my second game, I think I won my third game, lost my fourth game, and then it all came down to the final game on Creature from the Black Lagoon, and I just absolutely just decimated that game, which was great. But I'll just let you know as well, in the qualifying round, one of the games there was, we talked about it before, Fireball Classic. Mm-hmm. And everybody had all these great scores of, I just missed, some guy got, 4.5 million. I can't remember his name, but hello. And I was on my 4th ball and I was on 200,000. And I was like, oh God, this is going to be an absolute shocker. And then on the 4th ball, I lost it and the display just died. It didn't go off. It just went all 8s. And again, Pintech Steve, where are you? Pintech Steve came over. And I quietly whispered to him and I said, mate, turn it off. But he actually tried to fix the display when it was on, couldn't get it to work, so everybody had to go over to another machine, and I was very delighted by that. So anyway,
bit of luck your way.
Absolutely luck going my way. So then we played head-to-head to then get to the final 4. So 16 became 8, became 4. and then the 4 was a 4-player game on 8 machines. Oh no, on 7 machines I think it was. Starting with Creature, and when we were on Getaway, it was funny. It was I can laugh about it now. That Paul Jones put up the most amazing score on, I think it was on his second ball, this amazing score on Getaway. It might have been, let's say, 700 million. He got, Redline Mania and got all the super jackpots, just all of them, and was on 700 mil. He was pleased. And Pete, I'm sorry I have to mention this. Pete Menzel, he had to fix something. So he went to get his toolbox, which was behind Creature. Went to open it. It knocked the power board and shut off all the machines.
Oh, no.
And I quickly ran up to Paul and I said, Paul, don't look. Just look at me. Don't look what's happening behind me. Everything's okay. Don't worry. And he just looked at me and went, oh, my God. So his score was gone. We had to play that game again.
Did he do it right the second time?
I think he did. But instead of playing 4-player games, we then just played all the 7 machines at our own time and recorded the scores.
Okay.
So the good news is that PJ won. He won, and he absolutely deserved it. He played really solidly. Brett Goodwin came second, and yours truly, I came third.
Does that mean you're the third best pinball player in Australia?
No, it doesn't, because by ranking, I think it still has. I think I might be 21 or 20 or something like that. But
okay.
But it was good. But another thing that was really interesting is that as I was playing, it was a very noisy area, and people were sort of around me. And I'm not one to play headphones with headphones on. I listen to the call outs. I'm not very good at seeing things on the play field. I need to hear the call outs. So, but what was happening was, it's serious business, these competitions. And what I was hearing was people were almost commentating on my game as I was playing it. Oh, look, he's locked a ball. I'm like, guys, stop it, you're putting me off. So I actually put headphones in, cranked up the music, and my game improved immensely.
Okay, headphones into the pinball machine, like the Pinnovators thing?
No, I was listening to music in my earphones.
So this is what we talked about last episode.
Yeah, so I finally did it, and it was actually, I played so much better by being able to tune all the noise and the chatter around me, and could just focus, and that's when I started playing better. Fortunately, it didn't help me in the finals, but I still came third, and that was fine. You know what? I didn't have any expectation. I just wanted to get into the finals and had a great time. So, again, thanks to Pete Menzel for putting on the tournament. He was a great tournament director. Had to make some tough decisions, and he did, and they were quick, which is good. Vice City Players we talked about before, Steve. There was just, and so many people, and especially all the people that came up to me and said, "Oh, I listened to the podcast." That was awesome.
Cool. You're famous.
Well, to a few people.
And modest.
But it was good. The best thing about it is going to a comp like that where everybody's really social and everyone's really chatty and they're talking about pinball and they love pinball, and I love being around people that love pinball, and that's what it was about.
Cool.
So there you go.
Good stuff. Do we move to the mailbag?
We can.
We can? All right, we got a couple of emails here. The first one is from Marcus. You know how to pronounce his last name. Yeah,
Marcus Sezonov. Marcus Sezonov. I know you're probably going to read this out in his email anyway, but Marcus is great, and Marcus comes along to a lot of the comps. He's a good guy, but also he has got one of the. I've got to get you over to his place, Ryan, because he's got those machines in the era that you have no idea about. So these are solid state machines and some EMs. And
I don't really have any friends that have the machines that people have been trying to get me to play.
Right. Well, I think it might have even been on our first episode when we were talking about this, and you said, "Oh, I just don't know which ones are good." Well, he literally has the AAA
good
titles
stuff
from that era. So he's got, if I can remember off the top of my head, he's got Centaur. And for me, Centaur of that era is just one of the best. We had a Playboy that's now on site. He's got a Zachariah robot.
Okay.
He's got a Bride of Pinbot, you know the machine?
Yes, I know that machine.
He's got a Gottlieb Circus, which is one of these ultra-wide bodies, and I think he's also even got, and speaking of ultra-wide bodies, I think he's got a Stellar Wars as well. He's got an old EM Grand Slam. That's a lot of fun. He's got...
You've obviously been over there a couple of times to remember his entire collection.
I have been there a couple of times. Apparently, and you'll see in this email, I am the reigning champion of the comp that he puts on.
Okay.
But anyway, he's just got these great machines from that era. There's a couple that I wish I could remember, but Fathom. I think he's got Fathom as well. Anyway, read out his email, Ryan.
All right, I won't read the entire thing because it's quite long, but yeah. Hi, Martin and Ryan. He's enjoying listening to the episodes.
Of course.
And he just wanted to write in. He says that he has a 5-year-old that he's trying to get into pinball, and he's a bit jealous that all of a sudden my kid, who's also 5, is into pinball. And Martin has seen his kid at comps.
Yeah, he does come along. He's good.
Yeah, he's good, and apparently he has to kind of bribe. He plays 1 or 2 games. He plays Toten because it has a sword, and Iron Man because he's an Avenger. But then after the first 2 games, he has to use more bribes to get him to kind of stay and play pinballs. He has 15 pinball machines at home, but he never has said, let's go play them. And that was the same issue I had. Whereas, my little girl would play pinballs with me, but it was literally 1 or 2 games, and she would say, I want to go do something else now. She would ask permission, like, Daddy, can I please go now? And it makes you feel guilty and shit because you feel like you're forcing your kid to do something they don't want to do. So, that's all he says about his kid, and I don't want to act like I'm some kind of expert on getting the kids to play pinball now, but my kid is still really into pinball machines, and it's almost too much now. I don't want to sound horrible, but I mean, I played pinballs as kind of not as an escape, but you know, like the kids had gone to bed. I'll have my alone time now and go and play pinballs. At the end of the day now, I don't feel like I don't want to play pinballs anymore because I might spend an hour during the day playing pinballs with my kid, and it's not me in one corner playing Tron and her playing something else. She wants me to be there with her, coaching her.
Right, okay.
Which is amazing.
Yeah.
But, like, at the end of the day, like I'm exhausted. I've got pinball fatigue. Like I don't want to look at the machines anymore. So I've tried to calm it down a bit because she's literally just, hey, Daddy, can I play pinball before I go to school? And then as soon as I come back after school,
yes, please. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, as I said, I'm trying to calm it down to a level where she's not gonna absolutely drain it, and but she's still absolutely really into it. And actually, are we doing the interview this week? Did you get that little sound clip I sent you?
I haven't heard it yet. If you'd like me to add the interview, I'm more than happy to.
Okay, so we got Family Guy, and this is a little interview. It's about Family Guy and also about us playing the Pinball Arcade. So let's cut to that. Hey V, so we just got the Family Guy pinball. What do you think of it?
I don't like it.
Why is that?
Because I think the fight jokes are silly.
It's a bit too silly for you?
Yes.
Okay. But you do want to watch a TV show now, don't you?
Yes.
Well, too bad you're not old enough. And this week we're playing some games on my Xbox in Pinball Arcade, and we came across Elvira. And what did you say when we saw Elvira?
Elvira looks like Mummy.
But what's the difference, you said? You don't want to say it? Come on.
Elvira had bigger babies than Mummy.
Alright. See you next week, V. Bye.
Bye.
Oh god.
Oh my god.
She didn't want to say it because when she said it, just like in the natural conversation, me and my wife are on the floor laughing. and when you do that to a kid, she almost thought like she said something naughty or cheeky, so she didn't want to repeat it. But yeah, I mean,
I think she's gonna have to be a regular weekly feature for sure.
Yeah, because that's exclusive, right? I mean, we're never going to get like George Gomez and stuff to come on, so I mean, no one else can interview.
You won't get that on a Canada interview.
Exactly. World exclusive. Ryan's 5-year-old kid. So back to the
Marcus
to the email.
Yep.
Yeah, so this is one thing that one thing I was surprised about what Ryan said is that he is not an art guy. I thought that would usually be an important part of choosing a pinball machine. Well, for me, if the art is not likable, then I will not get it, no matter how good the game is. Wow. But then Ryan spoke about Batman 66 art. So I think art is more important to him than he realizes. All right, so I'll stop the email there and just clarify.
What do you reckon?
It really isn't important to me at all. I can appreciate something being good looking like Batman art, but I'm the only person in Australia who cancelled my Batman order. So that in itself proves that like art for me isn't good enough. All right? Ghostbusters fucking looks amazing, right? I sold that pinball machine.
Yeah.
Aerosmith looks amazing. I don't want to own it.
Yeah.
AC/DC looks like shit. Holy crap. That cluster, not only the artwork, just kind of like copy and paste on there, that cluster of inserts in the middle, like
it's a mess.
above jam multiple, is disgusting.
Yeah.
Like it's so clumped together, and I don't give a shit.
Doesn't matter.
Right? For me, it's the opposite. The worse the art, usually the more I like it because the game has to make up for the bad art to be good. So, and then he goes on to mention Thunderbirds, and he's a very big fan. There's a lot of big fans in Australia. I mean, everyone that I talk to about Thunderbirds meaning nothing to me. They're like, what? Like, didn't you watch it when you were... Everyone seems to love Thunderbirds.
Yeah,
so.
you know I do.
What else is he saying? Or he liked us trying to describe the pinball machine without saying too much because he's trying to make up and fill in the blanks in his head. Well, I'm glad someone liked that our Thunderbird segment. He also mentions headphones in pinball. He thinks it's a pity people do that because sound is important to him, and he loves the speech from Fathom and Centaur, and especially Centaur with the two speech boards that give the echo effects. But I think I'm going to have to come down and play Marcus pinball.
Have you never played Centaur?
Never.
Oh, it's
not my fault. None of my friends have it, and none of them are on site. So how am I going to play it?
Well, we now know that Marcus listens. Marcus, we need...
Invite Ryan over. Or have a big pinball meet at your house. Just get everyone.
Well, he does. But no, he does. So, look, as he said...
Okay.
Yeah, so he runs the Rosstown Retro Pinball Arcade Tournament. And in fact, he sent us this email before Saturday when they were having qualifying. But, you know, we are celebrities now, so... Marcus has said to me that we could go down for a special qualifying if we wanted to. Marcus, okay. I'm putting it out to you. Get myself and Ryan over to your place and you show him the wonder of these machines. Centaur in particular, and he's right. I could never put headphones on listening to whilst I'm playing Centaur because the sound is everything. Yeah. It's just a great machine. And
thank you for emailing in and thank you for listening, Marcus.
Thank you, Marcus.
And our next email just came in literally 5 minutes before we started talking, and it's from David Peck, who is Rotor Dave on Inside, the guy who has the most pinball machines out of anyone in the world. He has like 120-something pinball machines.
Yeah, that's quite a lot.
Do you want to read this one?
Yeah, sure. He says, "Hi guys, liking the podcast. Good to hear some of my Aussie mates' names on there. Following up from Marty and Jordan's trip to Papa, another kid has won a major event today. Alexander Kachmachik.
Catch my chicks.
Could be. So he just won the Buffalo Open, beating Levy, Zach Sharp, Robert Gagno in the final. Only 14 years old. So Danny, who's Dave's daughter, I've met her. She is so lovely. Has played him in the Papa Juniors finals, and he's a great player. So far this year, it says Escher Lefkoff has won Papa A. I think he was 13 at the time. Jordan won Papa B division. He was 16 at the time, turned 17 a couple of days later. Blake won Papa D division at 8 years old.
8 years old,
I know, right?
Gosh.
Danny won the Texas Pinball Festival Women's Championships at 15, and now a 14-year-old won a Puppet Circuit event. He says, us old guys are on the way out. And I'm telling you now, I could not be happier. And I just hope that doing it at that age, actually promotes kids of that age to get into it. What do you think?
Yeah, before my kid got into pinball literally a week ago. I'm making it sound like it was before last week. I mean, I kept on trying new things, and the last thing I tried before the thing that worked was I showed her Dr. John and Emily's videos, and I said, "Hey, look, it's a young female beating her dad at pinball. Look at this and get into pinball." And unfortunately, it didn't work.
Right.
She still remembers it though, because the funny thing is, every time she plays pinball, like she gets like light cycle multi-ball, and she's like, "Have you ever got light cycle multi-ball, Daddy?" And I'm like, "Yes." "Have you ever got a ball on the couch, Daddy?" Like,
Can I just say though,
does,
a 5-year-old getting light cycle multi-ball on Tron, that's pretty good.
I've got him set to 9-ball, so.
Have you really?
But she got it on the 4th ball, so
it's still not so bad.
By the 4th ball, she'd done light cycle, disc wall, multi-ball, and she got Cora on like the 7th multi-ball or 7th ball or something. So I'm making it easier because it's. I mean, as I said, my machines are set up brutal. I'm not going to adjust the out lanes every single time she plays. So this is the only way to kind of counteract that, and it's working at the moment. So I will keep on doing it. But hey, I mean, maybe I shouldn't tell her to calm down and not play too much pinball, because she's got to catch up. I mean, if she's expected to win the Texas Women's Festival by 15, I've only got a couple more years to go.
No, exactly. You got 10 years of training now.
10 years of training.
And
all right.
the talk of it, and the fact that I mentioned last week, none of my kids into pinball, it just kills me. I don't.
Have you tried lately, Marty?
Yeah, I have. I probably just got to confiscate their iPads, and so they have no choice but to play pinball.
As I said, iPads have issues. The battery goes flat. They can't charge anymore. They're in
No,
repairs. And
they do come over, and the first thing they do is they start up the machine, and then they might play a couple of balls, and then they remember that they got their iPads, and then they go to it. And the other day, they came down after I was minding a friend, Hi Stu, his Star Trek Next Generation, and they said, "Oh, you got a new pinball machine, you got a Star Trek," and I went, "Yeah," and they went, "Okay," and then just went to the TV. That's it.
God.
It kills me.
Well, as I said, you can't expect them, I don't know. As I said, I'm just lucky, and I don't know how long it's going to last for. I mean, I'm acting like, she's going to be into pinball forever, but literally, like next week, she could just totally stop. So I still don't know. But hey, I just to prove that I'm not lying, I have had a couple of people come over, and she wants to talk to my friends now. Usually, she kind of like pokes her head in the room, sees that it's not someone she knows that has come over, and she leaves. Pete came over the other day, and she sat there talking about Cora and Jam and
Wow.
And she sat there and she didn't let me talk to my own friends. She sat there like if you talk to her about pinball now, she sits there and wants to talk about pinball. So
I like that. That's great.
It's true. I'm not lying. I'm not lying.
That's awesome.
I've got proof.
And our final message, yeah. So and we did get some feedback from Paul, who messaged us via Facebook, which you are also welcome to do. So, Ryan, what did he have to say?
Hey guys, just wanted to say that I like your podcast, even though I'm a complete novice to the world of pinball. Being old, and he's 50 years old, which is not too old, and playing machines in my youth, I can follow a lot of what you are talking about. Can you give me a rundown of the best places in Melbourne to play, what machines are there, etc., and can you people come along to a session?
Well, Paul, great question. And look, one of the things, we are going to update a lot of the locations on our website, which is head2headpinball.com. If you go to pinball locations, we have a list. We've pretty much got we try to get the locations that have got about 5 or more machines on them. Another website that you can go to is the Melbourne Pinball Finder. I'm not sure whether there's other resources like that in.
There's a thread on Aussie Arcades, which is absolutely huge.
It is massive.
And people, and you go to the first couple of posts, and so there's a lot of locations where you can play pinball. In Melbourne, there might be over 100 locations, but some of them might only have one pinball, and it might be in terrible condition. So I don't know if you want to answer it or I'm answering it.
Well, all I wanted to say to you was, the main locations we've got are Pinball Paradise, Golden Fleece has just opened up, Karting Madness is out in the east if you're down that way, Pixel Alley is in Fitzroy or Collingwood area, You've got the Sandbelt Hotel in Moorabbin. And if you want to drive a long way, there's
3 hours.
the Australian Pinball Museum in Nil. But I guess, and I actually had a bit of a conversation back and forth with Paul. Seems like a nice guy. And I probably just want to answer the question, and can new people come along to a session? And what I said to him was, and for those people, and he did later on say, can you have a section that talks about people that know nothing about tournaments and comps? Because a lot of the stuff that we talk about, we just assume that people have knowledge, and not everybody does. But what I said, and I'll say to a lot of people, if you look up on Facebook, Bayside Pinball Club, they have their meets, I think it's the last Thursday of every month, and they have it at the Sandbelt Hotel in Moorabbin, and Lucas runs that tournament. And the reason why I say that one, because I think that's probably the best one for new players to come in. They usually get a regular 30 people along to that comp each month. Lucas is, again, if you talk about ambassadors, he's a great ambassador of the pinball tournament scene. But he's particularly receptive and really warm to new people coming in, and he's doing a lot to promote pinball and to promote comps in Melbourne. So, there's lots of other comps out there as well, but I would say look up Bayside Pinball Comp on Facebook and reach out to Lucas.
Cool.
There you go.
I think that just about wraps it up, mate.
It really does.
If you're listening to our podcast for the first time, thank you for surviving 2 hours.
Yes.
We always try and keep it less than that, but we've got a lot of stuff to talk about. So if you want to keep up to date, please head to our website, head2headpinball.com. The 2 is the number 2, not TWO. You can email us at head2headpinball@gmail.com. You can follow our social media accounts, Twitter, Instagram, etc. You can find the links for that on our website. Please subscribe to us on iTunes or on Android. You just click the little button below the media player on our website, and if you're on your phone should figure it out and do the rest. Yeah. And that's the best way to keep up to date with us.
Yeah, and you know what? If you feel like chucking us a 5-star rating, just go for it. Please do.
Or 1 star, or 4 stars. Just whatever you feel.
Any feedback's good.
Yeah. Okay.
So thank you everybody for listening for another week. I am Martin, and you are
Ryan C.
Ryan C. It has been an absolute pleasure again, and we will do this all again next week.
All right, guys. See you later.
Good night, everyone. Bye.
Sorry, I have nothing to play this out. I couldn't think of everything in the last 5 minutes. I got nothing. Ah.